The Riyria Revelations, written by Michael J. Sullivan, is a fantasy series following the adventures of a thief and a warrior, Royce and Hadrian. Royce and Hadrian make up the group known as Riyria, where they anonymously perform heists and odd jobs for nobles that need something unscrupulous done under the radar. Riyria is known to not have any allegiances to the various kingdoms throughout the world. If the price is right, they're in. The series was originally self-published as 6 books, but is now sold as a set of 3 volumes containing 2 books each. Volume 1, Theft of Swords, contains The Crown Conspiracy and Avempartha. Volume 2, Rise of Empire, contains Nyphron Rising and the Emerald Storm. And Volume 3, Heir of Novron, contains Wintertide and Percepliquis, or something like that. Is it so hard to put these things back in the box? You might be thinking this setup alone may not be enough to build out 6 books worth of material and stay interesting, and you'd be correct. As is often the case with fantasy books, a job goes awry, and Riyria finds themselves caught up in a much larger plot that threatens to change the course of history. There are many external factors that play an impact on the plot as well. There's an ongoing struggle between competing factions. The Nationalists, a movement led by the people to overthrow the hierarchy of nobles and kings and implement something akin to a democracy. The Imperialists, a movement to unite the land under the church with a singular emperor that all existing kings serve. And the Royalists, who are comfortable with the existing status quo of separate kingdoms ruled by kings and their various noble underlings. The Riyria Revelations is in many ways a traditional fantasy series. Magic is a mysterious thing that isn't very common but can have drastic effects. Gandalf-style magic, if you will. There's also quite stereotypical digging dwarves and reclusive elves that make mostly minor appearances throughout the series, although as the books go on, we see more of the dwarves and the elves. In terms of prose, this is a series I'd consider an easy read. Very simple and straightforward language is used. There's a good bit of situational comedy, especially present in the first half of the series. What begins as a lighthearted adventure, though, quickly becomes a serious and violent fight for survival. A quite severe tone shift occurs in Volume 3, where dinner is served and our platter of gut-wrenching emotional moments is accompanied by a dessert of narrative payoffs. Now, what can you expect from each of these 3 volumes? Because each volume is actually 2 books, you get 2 exposition climax resolution charts for the price of 1. It can be a bit jarring mid-book to finish a post-climax resolution section with a cliffhanger, turn the page, and start a new book that often contains some amount of time skipping and the traditional sort of introduction to the new characters and whatever else is going on. However, I can't say this is a true criticism of the series. This is a weird reading experience only because when Orbit purchased the rights to publish the book, they also decided to repackage what was the existing 6 books into this 3-part trilogy. Volume 1, Theft of Swords, establishes the world, establishes Riyria, and begins to expose the reader to the mysterious overarching plot that we follow throughout the series. This volume is by far the most lighthearted of the bunch, taking place when the stakes are still low and serving as an introduction to what will eventually become major threats later on in the series. I found this to be a fun and satisfying read, and it left me really wanting to see where the series ended up. Volume 2, Rise of Empire, was by comparison quite disappointing. I think that my take here is maybe a bit of a hot take. It seems that based on the reviews that I've read online, people tend to have liked Volume 2 more than Volume 1. Maybe I'm just in the weird camp of haters, but I want to give you my honest opinion on this, and to me, Volume 2 was a bit disappointing and a bit of a slump in the series. There's a lot of additional world building that takes place in this set of books. A new set of characters is added, and we get this concurrently running A plot with Royce and Hadrian, and a B plot with the new friends that we're following, and I think this aspect of Volume 2 is very well done. However, in my opinion, I feel like the A plot was not as strong as what was going on in Volume 1. The various adventures of Royce and Hadrian weren't quite up to par, and I found myself cringing at some of the dialogue between characters. I think perhaps my biggest struggle was that the overarching plot did not progress as much as I had hoped it would throughout these 2 books. Because of that, some of the flaws that I noticed felt even more pronounced. That being said, I do still think that despite this slump, Volume 2 is worth pushing through because of how explosive Volume 3 is. In Volume 3, Heir of Novron, this is where we get our convergence of the various subplots in a seemingly never-ending stream of plot twists and grand revelations. As it turns out, the series title, The Riyria Revelations, is quite apt, and the twists are deep enough that it's clear that the goal of all 6 books was to bring about these reveals. There are enough twists and turns packed into this volume that even if you predicted some of them, it's unlikely that you'd catch on to everything that Sullivan had planted throughout the books. In terms of plotting and dialogue quality, Volume 3 greatly improved on the gripes I had with Volume 2, and it more than makes up for it in action. I would strongly recommend this series to anyone looking for an adventure-focused book that is easy to pick up and read. There are elements of politics and intrigue the sprinkling of romance throughout the series, but far and away, the most present themes are the exploration of Royce and Hadrian's friendship and their adventures unlocking the secrets of the previous fallen empire. In publication order, the Riyria Revelations is only the first series in Sullivan's World of Elan. He has also written the Riyria Chronicles, a prequel series that explores the beginnings of Royce and Hadrian's partnership, the Legends of the First Empire, taking place thousands of years before the Riyria series, and The Rise and Fall, bridging a gap between the Legends of the First Empire and the Riyria Chronicles. I personally have not yet had the chance to dive into any of these prequel series, but from what I've gathered from reviews online, Sullivan's only improved as a writer, and many fans say they enjoy these prequel series even more than the initial entry, the Riyria Revelations. So I'm very much looking forward to diving into these series. This concludes my review of the Riyria Revelations. Let me know in the comments below if you've already read this series and what you thought about it, or if you're interested in adding this to your to-be-read list. If you enjoyed this video, remember to appease the YouTube algorithm by liking, commenting, and subscribing to the channel for more book reviews and discussions while my pets decide to suddenly start playing with each other over here. See ya.